Hello everyone, what's going on, and welcome to episode 303 of using magic spells to script stuff for Minecraft roleplay servers by Momo the Bard. That's me. Hi. Today we're going to be tackling variables. Now, what does variables mean? To those uninitiated with programming, a variable is kind of like, it's like a box where we store a number or a word that we can later reference. Let's say, for example, I want to make a six-shooter gun. I need to store somewhere how many bullets are left in my six-shooter gun. Now that little box that we store this value in is what we call a variable. And that's what we're going to be working with today. In fact, let's make something akin to a six-shooter. That's the wrong folder. We need the magma one. As is tradition, we go into our magic spells. As you can see, I've cleaned out a lot of my excessive spells because I don't need that for this sandbox. So we're making a new text document. We are going to be calling it spells, tutorials, variables. Yeah. Now, as is of course the tradition, we're just gonna copy over from different spells, whatever we can reuse, because why would we reinvent the wheel? Always keep in mind that a scripter is like a wizard, and a wizard is only as powerful as their library is filled. So we're just going to be making use of the library we have built up here. We're going to be opening up this. Before this gets intrusive again. Let's mute my browser. That's a meme at this point. Momo forgetting to mute his browser before recording. What an amateur, this fucking guy. So we copy in our predefined item, one of our last one, we'll call it six shooter. We use something different than a stick this time if we want. So what's a good thing? Maybe let's not use a bow. Bows have problems when you use them. We are going to use, I don't know, a shovel. I believe this wooden underscore shovel. If it doesn't work, we'll look it up. I will call it shovel of 6 shots. Now we need a lore. There, you're used to it at this point. Lore is what is called a string list, and if we want multiple strings in a string list, this is how we format that. So our left click is shoot at a target. Our right click will be reload your shovel. There we go. We reload our mod and we try to see if it worked. No, and of course it didn't work because I got the name on the wooden shovel wrong. Minecraft wooden shovel. In fact, if we check our error log, we'll probably see yes, invalid predefined item section. So we just had a little oopsie with our item name. By the way, you can also use item IDs for that. You don't have to use names, just using IDs is a little sloppy. Names is always better. It's wooden shovel, and I did have wooden shovel. That is interesting. That is interesting. Maybe it got renamed at one point because this wiki is, of course, for like what is version 1.18 at this point. I'm just tackling problems live, just to show that I still have problems too. It is weird that this doesn't work. Try one more time. Did I make a mistake somewhere else? That is of course also possible. Let's try that. Just gonna revert it to something we know works, so we know that for sure that if it goes wrong that this is actually the problem. Okay, it was actually the problem. You know what, to keep the video going, we'll just use a stick this time, even though it's called shovel, because for some reason this didn't work. I suspect it's just because of an update, but I don't feel like looking into it right now. So right now we have, I guess we have the stick of 6 shots, which is called a shovel. It does nothing yet. It's not supposed to do anything. So let's start by making our functional part of the spell. We're gonna be making a projectile spell. It's of course called sixshooter-projectile. And the cast item, left click cast item is shooter-item. Projectile, let's pick an arrow. What's our arrow gonna do? Open up our trusty spell list. What is something interesting that we can make our arrow do? Can make it explode. That's always funny. I know what we'll do. We're gonna make it spawn in some fire. That's what we'll do. Shooter-materialize. Don't need any of this. Block type fire. And we don't need any of that. Now, if I did everything right, and I rarely do. Okay, I'll tell you guys why it exploded. This is a trap that I fell in the very first time I did this. This is gonna be a hard one to decipher. It took me an hour to decipher as well. It exploded because some very cruel mind made it so that the default spell of a projectile spell is explode. So it's not, oh no wait, it exploded because I'm a fool. But also this is also true. The default spell of projectile spell is also explode, so. And in this case it's just because I forgot to update this. However, the default spell is actually explode. If I mess up the format, then that it will also explode. Boom. Fire arrow. I don't like that it plays the block break effect. It does not feel very good. So we're just gonna change that up. No. Play break effect. False. That's really the only option we need here. There we go. Now it just shoots little flaming arrows. We can set the arrow on fire if we want to. Just we've already done that before. You can check one of our earlier videos if you want to know how to do that. Okay, so now we want to make it so that this only fires if we have ammo in our six-shooter. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our variable. Variables, they go at the top before the spells. I'm not 100% sure if they go before or after the items. So I guess we're going to find out. Variables. Now, much like items, however, actually, let's open up the variable settings for you so you can see where that is. Let's actually do it. Start configuration. Variables. Well, this doesn't actually include an example, so you can just use my code as an example. That's fine. Much like predefined items, how this works is you start a little header, that's the name. Let's call it six shooter underscore shots remaining. And this is a very important thing to talk about. I've said before, in your naming scheme, you can kind of do whatever you want, except if you actually want to upload these to SneakyRP. If you're uploading them to SneakyRP, you're going to be using dashes, because we use dashes and we want things to be homogeneous. But if it's for your own project, you can do whatever you want. However, variables cannot include dashes, because a variable cannot be parsed if it has a dash in it. So for variables, we have to use underscores. That's a very important thing that you're going to get stuck on for 2 hours if I don't tell you. Because I got stuck on it for 2 hours, Rob got stuck on it for 2 hours. It's just one of those things that someone has to tell you, or you have to read the source code. Now, we need a type. Now, what types do we have here? We have a global, player, global string, player string, distance to location, square distance to location. Well, people familiar with coding will know we're working with a number here, so we're looking for an integer. Well, integer is just called player here. They, instead of doing player, integer, and global integer, they shortened it by just saying player and global. Global string, by the way, does not work in MagicSpells 3.5. I have a custom version of MagicSpells where I added it myself, but even though this is on the wiki, if you have MagicSpells 3.5, the default, that's not going to work. Global, of course, means that it'll be the same for everyone, which is not what we want here, because it's my six shooter, right? So we're going to be making this a type player to programmers. That's just known as an integer that's saved to a player. We're going to make it, let's say it's not permanent, because permanent is a default true. What else do we need? We need a default value. Our default value is 6. Our min value is 0. Max value 6. We don't actually need a min and a max for the code that we're doing here, but we're gonna do it anyway. Let's see if this loads. It won't do anything yet because I haven't actually used it, but let's just see if this loads. It looks like it loads. Good to me. Okay. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding code so that our shooting spell only works when this variable is larger than 0. And we're also going to make it so that every time we shoot, the value goes down by 1. So let's just do that. Now, if you remember our previous lesson, making it so that it only works when the modifier is above 0 is, of course, a modifier. We're going to borrow some old code. Because if I recall correctly, the way that this is worded on the wiki is actually incorrect. This is the format we're looking at. So variable more than, and of course we are using 6 shooter shots remaining, 0 required. Now, we also, of course, want our variable to actually go down when we shoot, otherwise it doesn't do anything. Actually, we can quickly reload it to confirm that we've achieved nothing. So yeah, we've made it so that this only works when our variable is greater than 0. However, we haven't actually made it so that it decrements our variable yet, so it's just going to keep on firing. So we're going to be looking in our Alchemist Cauldron code here to find the proper format for that, because this is one of those things that's just quite poorly explained on the wiki. Variable mods cast, that's the one we need. Of course, after this, you're free to either type it over or copy it from the video description, and after that you will just have your own code to do this stuff. Shooter remaining. Now, of course, Equals to means it sets it to, however we want it to be -1. Actually make this variable once casted. Let's first try if it works and then turn it to casted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this one shouldn't work. Perfect. There we go. So we made it so that we have a variable, stores a number from 0 to 6. We've made it so that our spell only works when that number is greater than 0. And we've made it so that every time it's cast, that number is decremented by 1. Now we're going to be changing this to variables casted, which hopefully works. It should according to documentation. I just haven't used much. 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Now the difference between casted and cast is variable mods casted only goes off when it's cast successfully. This is all explained on the wiki, by the way. Whereas cast is done every time you try to cast it. So for example, if my modifier is on 0, so the spell won't fire. If I have variable mods cast, it's still going to take the modifier, it's still going to take the variable down by 1, even though it didn't cast successfully. In this case, it doesn't really matter because we have a minimal of 1, but it can occasionally matter. Your default should basically be variable mods casted so that it only goes down when you cast successfully. And in exceptional cases, you can use the one where the variable goes down even if the cast fails. Okay, so we now have sixshooter remaining -1. Perfect. We're going to be making a reload spell. Actually, yeah, so we're going to be making a reload spell. Let's do that. This is going to be a dummy spell, of course, because a reload spell isn't actually going to do anything other than maybe play a sound. What did I do? I was wrong. Wrong, Momo. Wrong. Yeah, that's the one we need. So we're going to make an instant dummy spell because we want something that doesn't require a target and doesn't actually do anything. Sixshooter-reload is what we'll cast it. Now, this spell will, of course, do nothing. It will have a cast item. Right-click cast item of sixshooter-item, and it will have a variable mod casted. Sixshooter shots remaining equals 6. So we reload it again and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now it stops firing. Now if we right click, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. See how we created a little box to hold a number, and we're now using that number to keep track of our shots. Attentive listeners will also probably notice that this means that my amount of shots is stored on my player and not on the item itself, meaning if I have 2 of these, they will use the same ammo pool. There's theoretically ways around that, though I haven't used them yet. You cannot store a variable on an item, you can only store it on a player or on the server side. But maybe you could use like MPT tags for that or something. Really, I'm talking about stuff I shouldn't even be talking about. If that overwhelmed you, I'm sorry about that. I do that sometimes. I'm terribly sorry. We're gonna make it so that our reload has a cast time, because that's fun to me. Cast time is 40 ticks, because if I recall correctly, cast time is stored in ticks. Yeah, you can see the green bar run up as we're reloading. I have it so that you cannot reload while moving, so this still shouldn't work. Yep. However, if we let the bar run up, we're now reloaded. Cool. Later on, we can add some sound effects to it to give it some nice polish. Okay, this now works. So what are we going to do next? We're going to polish it up a little bit. This is already honestly the variable part of the tutorial, so we're just going to add a little bit of polish. What's our polish going to be here? We're going to make it so that it plays a sound when you're out of bullets. We're going to call it sixshooter-error. It has none of this. It's just an instant dummy that does nothing. Now what we're going to do is, of course, if you remember from our modifiers video, we're going to exchange our required for cast instead sixshooter-error. Now our sixshooter-error is going to have a little sound. Do we want to make this a personal sound or a global sound? Let's make it a global sound. As always, we just copy it in from different code. Never reinvent the wheel. It is such a waste of time. Don't feel that pride. Use your library wizard. Effect sound position. Caster effect sound. Remove this chance because we want it to always play. Volume 1 into our list of Minecraft sounds. Need a click. Block.comparator.click. Sure. The gas it to make sure what it sounds like. Error. Perfect. What did I do wrong? Ah. I have it cast the error always because I have variable more than 6 shooter shots remaining 0 cast instead. Yep. Yeah, that'll do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to change it to variable less than 1. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. Now our little 6 shooter. Nice little sound. Now I of course picked the very first sound I could think of, so it's not the greatest sound, but it's a sound. And now we reload it so we can shoot again. Use a different, use like a piston sound for the reload, because that's fun. Add a little bit of polish to this, just a little bit. I'm honestly not the best at polish anyway. You can get a lot better polish than I am, because I leave most of my polishing to Rob. At least for now. Maybe by the time you watch this video it's not the case anymore, but reload. Good reload sound. There we go. I think we're just gonna call that the end of the class. We made a little 6 shooter by using modifiers. This of course is an item that could require a lot more polishing, but we're not gonna do that here because this is not a polishing tutorial. This is a variables tutorial. Hey, thank you all for watching and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace out.